In these uncertain economic times, it's easy to be worried about protecting your wealth, your hard-earned savings, and your family's financial future. Plunging interest rates, the devaluating dollar, and political unrest constantly threaten what you have worked hard to earn and all that you own. That's why now it's more important than ever to protect your assets and have the money you need to make your dreams come true. Welcome to the Global Wealth Fortress Report with successful global entrepreneur and wealth preservation expert Joel Nagel. Joel's helped thousands of people just like you protect what you have so that you can make even more and make your every dream come true. So, sit back and enjoy Joel Nagel's offshore expert advice on how you can live the good life at a great price, where the sun never sets on your financial fortress.
Hi, this is Carib Carter Clues. Welcome to Joel Nagel's Global Wealth Fortress Report. Today, we are continuing from last week's show where we talked about what's necessary for foreign residency and second citizenship. And of course, we have with us America's #1 asset protection attorney, Joel Nagel. Joel, let's get the items 4 and 5 today. We covered the first 3 last week. How are you today?
Great, Carter. I'm here in sunny Belize, San Pedro. We're getting ready for the big grand opening celebration on Friday. For not the grand opening, but the groundbreaking celebration for the kickoff of the Marriott Hotel that I'm working on with Mike for ECI, and so we're excited about that. And I know we're here to talk about residency and citizenship, but that's just touching on the Marriott project. We have that project completely qualified under Belize law for investors. I know that's one of the categories we're going to talk about today.
Good.
And if you decide you want to buy a Marriott unit here in San Pedro, it qualifies for residence. So it's just an extra little icing on the cake. I'm not saying you should do that just to get your residence, but if you're thinking of buying one anyways, it's a great opportunity to buy something that you're going to enjoy. Probably is going to cash flow for you, and you pick up your residence. So it checks a lot of boxes. So we have a number of people actually coming down, ECI shareholders and property buyers and Marriott investors that are coming down for the celebration on Friday, and we're excited about it.
This is I think 150 room Marriott. Is that right?
It's actually 202 rooms. And
202.
It's a combination of regular hotel rooms to junior suites, to full suites, 1, 2, 3, and I think there's a presidential suite that's 4 bedrooms. So it has everything for people at all different budgets. Even the small ones are at the investment level where you qualify. So in Belize, it's $250,000. You have to invest at least $250,000 to get the investor residency. So yeah, we're excited about it, and just taking a step back to because I know this isn't about this project per se. This is just an example of the kind of thing that you can invest in or can purchase to pick up your residence. And a lot of countries have specific programs. The United States has it's called an EB-5 or E-2. Those are 2 fast-track visas you get by investing in the United States. And a lot of other countries have them as well. So I know last week we touched a little bit on the Caribbean countries. They're probably at the leading edge where you write your check and you're in. I mean, you still have to pass a background check and make sure you're not a drug dealer, money launderer, anything like that. But once you clear that, you make your investment and you get your citizenship. Here in Belize, you make your investment, you get your residence, not your citizenship. And then after 5 years, you can convert it over. But it's very easy to maintain. There's no real time requirements. Other countries, normally the time requirements when you're investing are nominal or non-existent. Portugal, It's 1 week per year. So as long as you can,
Right.
take a little vacation, go visit the Azores or the Algarve or Lisbon or, wherever you want to go, Porto, if you can go there for a week. After the first year, it's 2 weeks every 2 years. And people are going to say, well, Joel, you said it's a year. It is. But the reason 2 weeks every 2 years is interesting is it means you don't even have to come at all 1 year. So,
Okay.
people ask me, what's the minimum number of trips? I say, well, you have to go 1 week in year one, in years 2 and 3, somewhere in there you go for 2 weeks. And in years 4 and 5, somewhere in there you go for 2 weeks. So, so basically the minimum is three trips. And then you stay a little bit longer, or like for my family, we go there a little family vacation once a year, and we go for a week, and it works out really well. So,
all right, let me back up for a second. On this groundbreaking this Friday, let me make clear to people, this is an opportunity to, I know we're here talking about offshore asset protection. This is a good way to do it. It's an opportunity to invest in a property that I believe can give you cash flow, because there's a rental program. It can give you equity, which is going to, I think, increase exponentially in years to come, plus the residency. So it's a like a triple header there that you get with one investment, which is very, very good. And I'll tell you what, we're gonna cover a lot of this in Coffee with Caleb Carter on Monday, and then we'll cover more about this specific property, if you don't mind, in next week's show. And we'll do it with Mike Cobb too, in his show, Friday show podcast, the Offshore Investment Report, because it is important.
I'm sure you'll have some, video clips and pictures. We have to be careful about making any kind of representations about returns. Marriott doesn't allow you to do that. Securities laws don't permit that. But, we've been working in this marketplace for a long time. We think the Marriott product is going to fit in really, really well. There's a lot of, Marriott has 150 million loyalty members, and, anytime they add a new country, a new destination, usually does pretty well. So we're excited about it. We'd rather under promise and over deliver than the other way around.
Yeah. And since I'm not an investor or an owner, I'm a little bit more liberty to just say, I think it's a great deal than you are. And I understand that. Now, last week we covered, here's my graphic. I love doing my show and tell here. This is Joel's nagellaw.com, right? nagellaw.com, folks. And you go to the services. It's very simple to get to. And this is where you find out about the second citizenship and residency requirements. The red checks, as you recall, Joel, we covered those last week, the first 3. And this week we are covering retirement, foreign residency and citizenship. And we're going to wind up with economic citizenship. Sure. All these 5 areas, you are the expert. That's why they're on your website, folks. Go to it. Get the info from the expert. You cannot beat that. Let's talk about retirement programs that can help people get foreign residency and second citizenship, Joel.
Sure.
How do we do it? Obviously, I was going to say I'm at that age, but I'm 10 years past that age.
No, it's a great point, and a lot of there's been a lot of development in this area over the years. Generally, you don't have to make any kind of investment. But, you have to show that you have the economic means to support yourself, that you're at retirement age, maybe you have a pension, Social Security. And let's just touch on that for just a moment. What a lot of people have discovered, this is nothing new for many, many years now, is that, your retirement, pension, Social Security, those types of things, they go much, much further in this part of the world where I am than they do in, if you're in New York City. If you live in New York City and you have Social Security of $2,000 a month, that's not going to be a very comfortable existence. No. But $2,000 a month, for example, here in Belize or Mexico, you're making the same as like a young professional. You're making the same as an architect or an engineer, a young lawyer. It's pretty decent money, really. And, you've got the money to pay for things, to eat out, to go to movies, to probably have a maid to clean your house. And so I know you like to talk about the fact that you have a higher quality of life, and you really do.
Yeah.
And the reason that a lot of these countries, Mexico, Costa Rica, they were some of the pioneers in this space, is they realized, hey, these are people that are going to come, they're going to bring their money with them. They're not going to take away jobs. In fact, by spending their money, they're going to create more jobs for
Right.
the local economy. So, it's become big business trying to attract, Americans and Canadians to come in their retirement years. Again, normally most programs, the number one thing is showing that you have a certain source of money, whether it's, an investment portfolio, a pension, Social Security, whatever it is. You have to be able to show that you have this type of money and that you don't need a job to support yourself, right? That's the
Right.
number one thing. They generally do not require any type of investment, although normally it's common that you would have to show that you have some kind of residence, a place to live, but it could be a rental agreement or something like that, to show that, in Belize, for example, you have to, over the course of a year, transfer $24,000 into the Belize banking system. That's called the QRP, or Qualified Retired Person law. So $24,000 a year, that's $2,000 a month. Again, it could be from Social Security, pension, whatever. You can do whatever you want with it. You can have it come into your account if you don't spend that much time here. Can sit in your account, or you could take it back out and invest it or whatever. But if you do live here, you would transfer that $2,000 every month. At the end of the year, you would be able to show that you transferred in 24,000. Other countries have different amounts. Countries like Nicaragua, for example, it's very low. I think the last time I checked, it was $650. So it's much cheaper than Belize. Ecuador has a program. It's about the same. Those are probably two of the least expensive countries. So, for any of our viewers that are on a real budget, those are great countries to look at, because, you don't have to have a lot of money, and the money you do have is going to go much, much further. Colombia has a great program. Costa Rica has a great program. Panama has a great program. And it's not only that, you show that you have this income. Once you get your residence card, it's a special residency card. A lot of countries have perks. Some countries give you free health care, which for a lot of people can be a very, very expensive part of their budget, even if they're, even if they have Social Security, Medicaid, Medicare, whatever. I mean, they still, if they have a procedure, they're going to be out of pocket a lot of money. And in Latin America, frequently healthcare is included once you have residence. And in the countries where it's not included, the cost of medical care is so low that it's in many cases lower to have a procedure done in this part of the world than the deductible that you have to pay, even if you have insurance or Medicaid or Medicare in the U.S.
Let me emphasize that point, because not on Coffee with Carib Carter, I interviewed Patrick Hebert. Patrick, he's a friend of yours in Nicaragua, and just driving home the point you just made, which I think is really key to our viewers. He was talking about having kidney stones, right? And he was saying that and Patrick's from Canada, said he had to go for more than a half day to a medical facility, had x-rays, CAT scans, the works. 2 doctors tending him. He said first rate care in Nicaragua, and he said it was $58. Yeah. He said it would have cost him $6,000 in Canada, and he said, and frankly, would not have been as good. So that's a huge advantage once with that residency in these foreign countries.
Yeah, and for example,
tremendous.
For example, in Portugal, if you're a retiree and a resident in Portugal, medical costs are completely free. I mean, free. So when people are worried, like, hey, is my retirement going to last? What happens if I need medical care? Well, in a country like Portugal, which is a European first world country, it's free. And I agree with what you said about Patrick. I mean, here in Belize, I recently had a client. They had an executive fitness, which they ran them through every test under the sun, EKGs and stress tests and everything. And I think the whole day, it was a whole day of a battery of tests, was about $200. And they had their own like concierge that walked them from place to place to place in a very upscale private clinic. People are going to say, oh, Belize, how's the medical care? For routine things like that, excellent. Would I want to have cancer treatment or, brain surgery or something like that? Probably not. But, the basic medical care is here, and it's very, very affordable.
And, as you know, I have 2 homes in Honduras. I've lived there in the past for a year, one time, 6 months, another. My wife and I are going to be back down there next year. And prescriptions. You go to the pharmacy and you pick it up. You don't have to pay an arm and a leg to a doctor for every prescription. That's just a tremendous advantage. Talking about residency, folks, these are tremendous advantages. Weigh it all in.
On that note, a lot of times you don't even have to go to a doctor. A lot of times just you have a quick consultation with the pharmacist, explain what's the matter with you. They prescribe and will give you all types of very common things. If you need a Z-Pack or something like that, an antibiotic, you don't have to go to a doctor. You go to the pharmacy, explain what's the matter. They check you out a little bit and give you what you need. So that, a lot of times tourists are here in Belize and, they stock up on a lot of their basic medications because they don't need a prescription here to buy them.
That's precisely right. And that's what I went to Walmart in Honduras in La Ceiba and just walked up to the pharmacy at the Walmart, and they said, well, what do you need? And I said, I need these kind of pills. And they didn't understand what I was talking about because I had to say pildoras, which is pills in Spanish. But nonetheless, once we communicated, they said, okay, I didn't have to go to a doctor. I didn't have to pay. So what we're talking about here, folks, is you have to think of these financial advantages. Like you might say, well, investing. I think the residency in the new Marriott there is $350,000, right? You can buy one of the new residences.
Yeah, that's right? Sort of the entry level. That's right.
Yeah. So you might say, well, that's a lot of money. Well, start looking at the savings across the board from being there, and very quickly you're going to find that starts paying for itself. I mean, I just had a dinner with a fellow from Minnesota the other night here, and he told me, look, it's cost in the wintertime, it costs him over $1,000 a month just to heat his house. There you go.
The cost of natural gas. And, he said he obviously has to leave it on to a certain extent so his pipes don't freeze. Puts it on, 45 degrees or something like that. But, he said the cost savings practically pays his cost of renting. He doesn't own, he rents down here. But, you start thinking about that, saving on heat, saving on prescriptions, saving on medical care, saving. And then the costs are a lot lower, food and energy. A lot of people like to eat organic. And in this part of the world, they generally don't use pesticides. So most things are organic because pesticides are really expensive and people are very inexpensive. So it's cheaper just to, have workers that are working in your garden and things like that keeping the bugs away with more natural type solutions. So you're right, you can't look at any one thing. You look at the overall cost of living in North America versus the cost of living here, and most people that come and try it come away and feel like they're getting a higher quality of life and a lower cost. And most people don't think you can do that. They're like, how can you have a higher quality of living at a lower cost? But I think you're the expert in that. You know all about that.
Well, that's why our slogan for the Offshore Club is the good life at a great price. So we've talked about retirement, second foreign residency, and second citizenship. We only have about 10 minutes left. Our final category in your big five at Nagel Law. Let me get this there we go. Folks, check out that page, nagellaw.com, services. The final category is economic citizenship. Let's talk a little bit about that. And folks, let me preface it with this. Folks, you're hearing from America's #1 asset protection attorney. If you could find a lawyer who can come anywhere close to what you're hearing right now, it will cost you an arm and a leg. So this is fantastic. Thank you. So how about economic citizenship?
Well, when we branched into immigration many years ago, because, at the end of the day, you yourself, your family, those are your most important assets, aren't they? And you want to protect them at all costs. So, there's a lot of reasons that people want to get second residence, second citizenship. Economic citizenship is generally the most straightforward and the easiest. It is costly. The Caribbean ones are they're the least expensive, and they start at about $100,000. You're literally writing a check to, one of these governments. They're doing background checks on you, putting you through the paces, and you're skipping all of the residency period. You just apply, pay, do the background checks, everything's clear. You go straight to citizenship. And the fastest programs take, some of the countries, they have expedite services that can be as little as 6 weeks, averages 3 to 4 months. Some of them can take up to a year and still be considered, economic citizenship. Once it starts taking 2, 3, 4 years, then that's really the 2-step process of residency, then citizenship. So with economic citizenship, you skip the entire residency process. So it's for people that want to get a second citizenship, they want to get it quickly. One of the reasons that people want to get a second citizenship and get it quickly is if they're contemplating expatriation, meaning giving up their citizenship of their birth. Under U.S. law, for example, you cannot give up U.S. citizenship and become a stateless person. You must have an alternate citizenship so that after you expatriate, your citizenship of somewhere. So even people that don't plan to expatriate, that's in the back of their mind. It's kind of like insurance, right? So you get it, you hope you never need it, but if you ever decided you wanted to expatriate, you could do it because you have a second citizenship. Incidentally, since COVID, one of the things the U.S. embassies around the world have suspended are expatriation interviews. You fill out some paperwork, but you have to go through an interview. There's not been any interviews in the last 2 years. And I just read an article the other day that there's a backlog of some 30,000 Americans waiting for their expatriation interview. So, again, this isn't some, crackpot person out in left field. 30,000 people are
Wow.
waiting. And that number is just growing by the day because, the U.S. embassies and consular offices are simply not granting those interviews. And until they give you that interview, you're still a U.S. person. That means you're still subject to U.S. tax. So it's kind of a vicious circle. I think they're almost afraid to reinstate those, those interviews because there's now, around the world, 30,000 people waiting in line. It's a big line.
It's a big line. And, as the president of the Offshore Club, I get my inbox is filled every day with hundreds of emails. And a lot of them are saying, I want to get out of the U.S. I see where this country is going. I don't like it. I don't like the policies when you had, Kagan on the Supreme Court, in her questioning on this whole business of the dictated vaccinations and mandated, I call them dictated. She said, the government pays for your health care. It has a right to dictate what happens to you. One of the most frightening statements in the history of this country from a Supreme Court justice. So a lot of people are saying, oh, wait. I've had it. So this idea of citizenship in another country is very, very appealing. You're freer. I'm just going to say it. You're free.
Well, again, the U.S. is in some ways taking pretty controversial positions, regardless of what you feel about, for example, getting a COVID vaccine. There's a difference between getting a COVID vaccination and having the government tell you that you must.
Yeah.
And if you don't, then, there's going to be some negative consequences. Some of the European countries, too, have come out with very, with mandates like thou shalt, and then, what's going to happen if you don't. So people are concerned about that. Canadians, I've actually met a lot of Canadians recently in this part of the world, in Latin America, who are saying, the lockdowns in Canada have been way worse than in the U.S. Even your ability to move around, the ability to go to the grocery store, it's been really iron-fisted. And, the reality is I don't know that their numbers are any better, worse, or different than in the U.S. or any other place. So, again, we talked about a lot of different ways to get citizenship. I tell clients, look, there's the slow, cheap way, and there's the fast, expensive way. You decide. If you have the time to go somewhere, live there, you may not even have to invest. You can maybe just live there, and after 5 years, you qualify for the ability to apply for citizenship. That's one option. Economic citizenship, it's the other end of the spectrum. It's the fast, expensive way. You're going to write a check, but to a lot of people, the certainty of having it in 6 weeks to 3 or 4 months is what they want, and they're willing to pay for it. So,
and then you have your offshore protection. We're out of time, but one more question, which is very self-serving. I'm getting free legal advice, so I got to take advantage of it. How about someone like me? And this is not a recommendation, folks, but how about someone like me who's married to a Honduran citizen? Don't I get a break somewhere? They're like married in. Is
normally
there anything like that.
Normally you do. I mean, when we talked about ancestral citizenship last week, you can get it from your parents, but you can also get it from a spouse. And each country is different about the rules. Normally you do have to live there and spend some time there, but generally it's expedited, meaning you're not waiting 5 years. Sometimes in as short as 6 months, you can after you've been married, you can already apply. In the U.S., you marry if a foreigner marries a U.S. person, they can go straight to getting a green card, and it's expedited. It's probably the fastest way to get U.S. citizenship. So, the same is also true. I don't know off the top of my head the rules in Honduras, but it probably would be worthwhile to consult with a local, attorney there and just say, what do I have to do? But you would have to do it while you're there. You're probably not going to be able to apply from Pennsylvania to get Honduran citizenship based on marriage in Pennsylvania. But if you go and spend some time in Honduras, you should be able to do it. So anyways, I'm sure we'll have an opportunity to talk about this some more.
That's great. Joel, thank you very much. This has been great. This has just been absolute tremendous advice.
I always enjoy talking to you, Carter. You're a great interviewer, and
thank you.
And the nice thing about you is you're not just talking the talk, you're walking the walk. You're doing this stuff yourself. You have a lot of newsletter people and other people, talking heads out there. They're talking about this stuff. They have no clue. I mean, you're out there, in the field, with the machete, going through the jungle, and and so I have a lot of admiration for you, and I guess that's why you're the head of the Offshore Club. So congratulations.
Thank you, Joel. Thanks for being with us again, and we'll see you again next week.
Yeah, look forward to it. Thank you. Have a good week.
You too. Thank you. Thank you for joining us, folks. This has been another incredible interview with Joel Nagel, America's #1 offshore asset protection attorney, and with the Global Wealth Fortress Report. Thanks for joining us. Join us again next week. You can't get better advice than this. Talk to you next week.